Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. We're going to finish our 5000 ball bearing pattern welded Damascus steel knife that we're working on. In the last episode, I hacksawed off the S guard that we built, and now we have a little bit different guard, but I think it's going to fit well with this build. I'm trying to go for sort of a brushed looking finish on it with the Scotch-Brite belt. We'll see how that works. And I want to cold blue it. Do a cold blue finish on here. I've never used this particular solution, so I need to do a test run, see how it's going to work, what I need to adjust. And it actually seemed to work really well, but I decided the Scotch-Brite finish was too coarse and I had to go back and do quite a bit of sanding on it. I was trying to see if I could do sort of an antique finish with multiple applications, but in any event, getting the guard finished to a higher polish on there, and then we can start working on the handle block. This is stabilized Buckeye burl, pretty neat stuff. Mark out where the tang needs to go and start drilling it out. By switching the block back and forth, I'm hoping to make sure there's no drift or wander on the drill bit. If there is, it should be canceled out each time I switch sides on the handle block. And carefully start carving material out with the drill bit, being careful not to snap it off. I am using the burn-in method to assist in the fitting process, and once we've got things where they need to be, I can carve out most of that charred material for a more durable interior of the handle block. So we've got a fit on there, at least we've got a slot for the tang. It's not super snug, but that's okay because we are going to bed it as soon as we get the front of the handle block matched up nicely and perfectly with the back of the guard. Now the reason I'm bedding the tang on this is because I want to be able to reliably and consistently index the handle block to the rest of the knife, so that as I'm shaping it, and particularly the chamfer on the museum fit I'm going to do, I need to be able to get the handle block to return to the same spot every single time as I take it on and off when working with it. This bearing grease will keep the epoxy from adhering to the tang and the guard during the bedding process. This would be plenty secure to fit together like this and finish it out, but the type of fit up that I'm doing with the handle block to the guard is why I'm bedding the tang before finishing it. Hopefully that makes sense. We'll let that cure for several hours and remove the knife before it sets up completely. I want to clean out that residual grease inside the handle block so that when we do put the final assembly together and epoxy everything together, it will have better adhesion. Super nice to have this height gauge and surface block here. I'm able to mark where the handle block needs to be ground or shaped to be in consistent relation or indexing to the actual blade. So I've got those lines on there that are made more visible by crayon as a backdrop, and I can just grind straight to those lines, and we've got a nice consistent handle block to work with. Drawn a rough representation of the outline for this handle, and now I need to mark carefully around the guard to make sure that I leave enough for that museum fit, and then I can begin shaping the guard. It's crucial that I don't grind past those lines that we made with the pencil, or that would really just destroy the use of this particular handle block. I'm also going slowly and seeing how I want to shape this in relation to the knife. Today's episode is sponsored by logolabtexas, which is a small business startup by people with years of design and signage experience. Mel from logolabtexas reached out to me. He wanted to design a new logo for Fire Creek Forge in exchange for a shout out. I said, sure, go ahead. He did some designing after I gave him a couple of ideas, came to me with something. I wasn't quite feeling it, told him, hey, I'm not quite feeling it. Here's the cool thing. I gave him a couple more ideas. He went back to the drawing board and totally pivoted, totally took the feedback and came up with a super cool design that I'm really happy with. I feel like really embodies the ethos of Fire Creek Forge. I was able to get some stickers made with the design that he built for me, as well as a poster. I'm working on patches for hats as we speak. So if you have any design needs for your business, for your startup, event, whatever, get a hold of Mel. The email contact will be in the description below. He'll be able to help you out. Getting pretty close on the grinders and doing some final careful shaping with the file. This stabilized buckeye burl is pretty easy to work with, and compared to the desert ironwood that I often use, it's quite easy. So pretty fun there. Using some sandpaper to put in that chamfer, which again, if you go too far, you have messed up the entire fit. So trying to be very careful with that. Everything is really close on the handle, and so after mapping out where the pinholes need to go, I'm drilling those from both sides and then into the tang. Did run into a little bit of a problem though. My hole drilling and fit up ended up with a consistent but small gap in between the guard and the handle block. Now I could have sucked up that difference with a vise and put the pin in, but I wanted the pin to index where there was no gaps. Otherwise, what's the point of having a pin? So I decided to add a nice little G10, black G10 spacer, which will offset nicely, I think, and completely take up that slack. So we've got a very tight, natural fit up there, and that turned out really well. We're to the point now I can put the final bluing finish on the guard, and this took me 4 or 5 tries, I'm not even sure, something like that, to finally get it to where I wanted it. Now our super glue has nicely cured and secured that spacer. We'll shape that down and put that final chamfer on there. And the handle is almost completely done, except for some final finish sanding and buffing, which means we can now move on to the blade. And it's been sanded up to 220 grit. We need to go up to 800 grit, and so spent some time doing that, and now we can finally etch the blade, bring out this pattern, and see what 5,000 ball bearings look like in a knife. Distilled water and ferric chloride pre-mixed solution. Degrease the blade, and we'll have it in and out of there probably 4 times, cleaning the oxides off and getting a nice deep etch. Using some natural light to really find the scratches of the previous grit in the handle material, and then buffing it out. Being real careful here to just let the buffing compound do its work and not put a lot of pressure on this, or I'm sure it's going to scorch it on the buffing wheel. You don't want that to happen. You got a little blemish there, so keeping it real clean and just going slow. And here's our final fit up. Everything is done. We've got a beautiful matchup with everything, and we'll fill in that tang slot with epoxy, and it's so tight that it takes a minute or so to really squeeze that down and fit everything up to where the pin goes in. And then we can pin that pin down, buff it out to a nice button, and we are good to go. Hey guys, I think this project turned out really cool. I'm going to show you some nice pictures of it in just a second. Thanks for watching. Appreciate the support. You can hit like, subscribe, notifications bell. All of that really helps the channel for free. You can also check out firecreekforge.com, where I have a bunch of my product for sale. As always, appreciate you watching, and we will see you on the next video.